Yo, what's up guys, Jack here today, bringing you some gameplay and first impressions of the Battle of JAKKU DLC for Star Wars Battlefront. 30 years before the new Star Wars film, there was an epic battle on JAKKU, and now, if you pre-ordered Star Wars Battlefront, you can experience it for yourself in the first free content drop for the game. If you didn't pre-order, don't worry though, you will also get the JAKKU DLC for free, but it's going to come out just a little later on the 8th of December. So a year or so after the Battle of Endor took place in episode 6, the rebels were trying a really bold move to capture a Star Destroyer belonging to the Empire called Inflictor. Rebels boarded the ship and disabled the self-destruct mechanism. After trying to destruct the ship and realizing it wasn't possible, the captain saw no other option than to evacuate and send it crashing into the surface of JAKKU. If you've seen the trailer for the new film The Force Awakens, and if you haven't, why the hell not? Do you live under a rock? What are you doing with your life? You'll see the landscape of JAKKU 30 years after the battle, with the fallen Star Destroyer still there, as well as wreckage from the massive aerial and infantry battles still visible after decades. So now that the backstory and history lesson is over, what's this DLC all about? Well, it's 2 maps and a new game mode. Graveyard of Giants is the bigger of the 2 maps, and it's used for Supremacy, Walker Assault, and also the new game mode Turning Point, which we'll get onto in a second. There's also a smaller map that's used for the other game modes like Blast, Cargo, etc., called Goazan Badlands. Overall, the map looks fantastic. The visuals of the Star Destroyer and just the general scale of the thing is awesome, but I wish I could just get a bit closer to it and maybe board it. We'll see in the future, I don't know. It's actually outside the borders of the map though, so even though it's quite close, it's actually outside of the actual play zone, which is a shame. Even being a desert map, there's a lot more cover than you would think, and that's thanks to all of the fallen rebel ships, X-Wings, AT-ATs that are scattered all over the map. It's actually pretty awesome just walking around all the wreckage with AT-ATs in various states of destruction, or hopping over an X-Wing or a TIE fighter whilst you're taking out an enemy. Visually, the map is fantastic. All of the pieces of wreckage aren't as random as they appear though. They provide some much needed cover, and while some parts of the map are still really open, you can at least hop between pieces of cover quite well, and it does create some nice lanes of sight in the middle of the map, especially around the rebel ship. The sand dunes themselves offer up a fair bit of cover as well, and you'll find a lot of players using them to their advantage, just peeking their heads over. There's also a fantastically visual war going on in the skies above. Star Destroyers and rebel ships all duking it out when you're running around the wreckage and you look up. It really does give you the feeling that you're right there in a battle. And the battle in the sky actually changes depending on who's winning on the ground. Not only that, but a Star Destroyer even comes down from the sky and crashes into the planet. Like I said, unfortunately, it's away from the action and not really a big Levolution event that people might have been expecting. Even still, it looks great, but maybe a little underwhelming that it's not part of the playable space. I will say that whilst the visuals of the map are fantastic, if you took away the Sky Battle and the Star Destroyer on the outskirts of the map, it would feel pretty generic. So the new game mode I mentioned is called Turning Point, and it's a mode designed for 40 players. Its premise is pretty simple actually. Rebels spawn in and they have to capture control points to move forward in the map, a bit like Rush. Every time you move forward, it becomes progressively harder, so when the rebels first spawn in, there are 3 control points that they can capture. They only need to capture 1 point, and then it moves on to the next set, which gives them 2 available points. After that, it's another 2 before the final progression just being 1 that the entire team is fighting over, and that can become pretty messy, let me tell you that for a fact. What's interesting about this though is that the progression towards capturing a point stays. So if you're halfway through capturing one of the control points and your team wipes out on it, it's going to remain at half process and you'll only need to capture the remaining half. An organised team rushing onto a point can really take a capture zone pretty fast. And it offers up this interesting mechanic. Do the stormtroopers actually fight for that remaining half or quarter or whatever it is, or do they give it up, fall back and prepare their defences at the next set of control points? As I said earlier though, it's not just the new mode you can play on this map. Walker Assault and Supremacy can both be played, and Walker Assault works really well. It feels like they've made a lot of good changes from the 4 base maps that we've got with the game. The last few points are the best in my opinion, with you going under and around the rebel ship and into a massive crater left by some ships crashing into the surface. The smaller game modes are played on a smaller map called Gozan Badlands, and that is a pretty small map in my opinion, with a 3-lane design, a flanking route on each side of the map and a big open area in the middle. Again, lots of downed TIE fighters and ATSTs litter the ground, and without them you'd be hard fetched to tell that this wasn't Tatooine. To be honest, it's a desert, so it looks very similar. Also with this DLC, we've had a few ninja tweaks and balance changes, but unfortunately I can't tell you exactly what they are because the patch notes are pretty vague. Such things as general balance changes. I can say though that the barrage has definitely been nerfed. The grenades take a lot longer to explode now. The impact grenade also feels as though its splash damage has been toned down a bit. In fact, it requires more of a direct hit now for it to deal lots of damage, whereas before you could easily throw it just close to an enemy and still kill them. There's also rumours that on Endor the AT-AT has been buffed, so it's going to be harder to take down for the rebels because the rebels would almost every time win on that map, and I'd expect that some of the weapons took a nerf, but I can't say 100%. The DL-44 apparently, which is the most overpowered gun in the game, has supposedly been nerfed, but it still feels pretty good to me. Another great change in the patch is the fact that when you play Walker Assault, you'll now play on both sides. So before you'd play on one side and then it would switch to another map. Now you're going to play as Imperials, the round's going to restart, and then you're going to play the same map as Rebels, which is great. Apparently DICE community manager Sledgehammer has promised though on Twitter to try and give out some more details soon on exactly what's changed. I'd expect that on December the 8th, when the game is released for everybody, we might see another patch there with like a fully detailed changelog. That would be pretty awesome for everyone who's playing the game. And that's all for today guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you've played JAKKU already, do you like it? Do you hate it? Let's hear about it. As always, thank you for watching, and I want to say cheers to anyone that came along to the JAKKU live stream last night. It was pretty short, but ultimately, you know, we got to show off the gameplay for a little bit, so I hope you had fun. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs down if you didn't, and I'll see you in the next one.